Where do I begin? Where do I begin with night two of the WWE draft? Guys, I just finished watching Raw about 15, 20 minutes ago, and I have to say, I know I'm not the first person to say this, and I know a lot of people have probably already said this, but it's pretty obvious that most of the drafts they did, it was pretty much done to just extend feuds that have already been going on. Now, I will say, to their credit, there are some feuds that have finally come to an end due to the draft. Like, for example, I pretty much figured that because Bianca Belair went. I mean, because of the fact that the Street Profits got drafted to SmackDown, obviously they want to keep the couples together. So naturally, they were going to put Bianca Belair on SmackDown. I already seen that coming, and also I seen that coming because they put the New Day to Raw. So it wouldn't have made sense for two champions to be on the same show unless they were planning on unifying the titles, which I don't think they're planning as of right now because they actually had the New Day and the Street Profits exchange titles, which kind of defeat the purpose of them even coming to Raw in the first place. They had them exchange titles. You know, they had them. Adam Pearce had them exchange titles. Now the Street Profits got the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Now the New Day got the Raw Tag Team titles, which is really weird. Whatever. Um, so you kind of figured that was going to happen. You put the New Day on Raw. Street Profits are going to automatically go to SmackDown, also because Monte Ford's wife. I mean, also they put Bianca Belair on there so she can be with her husband, and then you know so the good thing with that, their feud with Andrade and Angel Garza that's been going on for eternity, that's over. Also, they put Apollo Crews back on SmackDown where he originally was before he got traded to Raw, which means that his feud with the Hurt Business is over. And I like to think that Ricochet's feuds with the Hurt Business is over, but judging by the way how he won his match against Cedric tonight, where he said basically, if I win, this stuff with us is over. If I lose, I'll join the Hurt Business. And he paid homage to Eddie Guerrero in a really good fashion, by the way, paying homage to Eddie, giving the chair to Cedric, pretending like he got hit by the chair, and he wins by disqualification. So I would like to think that his feud with the Hurt Business is over, but then again, who knows? But like I said, there are a couple of feuds to their credit that actually are over because of this draft. The Street Profits are finally done feuding with Andrade and Angel Garza. Also, like I said, Apollo Crews is done feuding with the Hurt Business. And then, of course, there are some other feuds that it's pretty obvious that they drafted them to continue it. Like, they put Kevin Owens on SmackDown. And you kind of figure when they put Kevin Owens on SmackDown that they will put Aleister Black on SmackDown, which pretty much means that their feud is probably going to continue. But then there are some people like Matt Riddle, who because he got drafted to Raw, we no longer have to deal with seeing him versus King Corbin, which I will say their last match against each other one-on-one was a pretty good match on SmackDown. But we no longer have to see that because he's come to Raw. Also, we saw the return of Elias, and I gotta say, for a match quality standpoint, this Raw was pretty good in my opinion. For a match quality standpoint, most of the matches were pretty on point. They had an incredible opener with Kevin Owens and Aleister Black in a no disqualification match, which Kevin Owens won after power bombing Aleister Black through a table. Really good match. This is why I don't really see why this feud is continuing, considering Kevin Owens has beat Aleister Black 3 times at this point. The first time he beat him clean. The second time he beat him by disqualification because Aleister supposedly hit the ref by his arm in the back, and the ref disqualified him. That was like last week or something that happened. And now he wins again against Aleister. So I really don't get the point of the continuous. But they have had really good matches, and this match right here was no exception. This was a really incredible match to kick off the show as far as matches. Uh, you know, Also, I thought that the match with the New Day and Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode was a pretty good while it lasted, with them retaining the Raw Tag Team titles. And it was pretty obvious that when they were upset with the Street Profits for them getting traded to SmackDown because they were saying they deserved the Raw title shot after beating them in a 6-man tag last week. It was pretty obvious that they were going to move them over to SmackDown too. I pretty much figured once they put Street Profits there, they were going to put Bobby Roode and Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler there. So it's like most of the stuff was pretty predictable drafts. You pretty much knew what was going to happen because they, like I said, they want to keep things going. I already talked about night one how they're going to extend the obviously they're going to extend the Seth Rollins and Dominic thing. But this was a good showing by Seth tonight for him to show up on Raw, even though he didn't need to be there. And he had a really amazing uh, triple threat match between him, AJ Styles, and Jeff Hardy, which, like I said, ended with Elias making his return and attacking Jeff Hardy. When he first came out, I was like, what is Elias? Why is he attacking Jeff Hardy? But then, I realized in a storyline standpoint that this it makes perfect sense. And then when Charlie Caruso interviewed him in the back, he said exactly why, which is what I figured, because last time we seen Elias was way back on May 29th, which was actually the SmackDown episode where Sheamus framed Jeff Hardy as the supposed guy who had a hit and run attack on Elias, and that was the last time we seen him. Now it was Sheamus who plotted the whole thing, but I guess they wanted to keep this whole thing going. So now it looks like we're going to deal with Elias and Jeff Hardy. But on a good end of that, that pretty much means that his story with AJ Styles is pretty much over. But I'm not going to lie, that was one of the feuds that I didn't really have a problem with. The IC title scene with him, Jeff Hardy, with him, AJ Styles and Sami Zayn was a pretty good title scene they had going there. So I didn't really mind that at all. But it looks as though that's over with because, well, now it looks like he's going to be feuding with Elias, someone who we haven't seen in months. Who, as soon as they showed him, which pretty much spoiled it, which is why it seems like we can't have any surprises nowadays. Oh, look, he attacks Jeff Hardy, so oh, look, he gets drafted to Raw. Oh, look, I already seen that coming. Oh, look, that's not really a surprise. So mostly, like I said, and then they put Lars Sullivan on SmackDown. He comes and attacks, The Miz and Morrison, the same guy. Some of the same guys he attacked on SmackDown last week, along with Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy. Now he gets drafted to SmackDown, and for some odd reason, he has a match with Jeff Hardy on SmackDown. But I guess there's still farewell matches on the brands they were previously on. So again, like I said, guys, like I said, most of this stuff you pretty much knew what to expect, in exchange for the New Day coming to Raw. Street Profits go to SmackDown. Bianca's going to go to SmackDown too because they're not just going to keep her on Raw away from her husband. At this point, they're trying to keep all the couples together. You know, Kevin Owens goes to SmackDown. Oh, look, Aleister Black goes to SmackDown. Matt Riddle comes to Raw. Jeff Hardy comes to Raw. Elias comes to Raw. I mean, R-Truth stays on Raw, which, I mean, did you really expect anything less? I mean, Titus O'Neil, someone we barely even see nowadays, stays on Raw. I mean, some of these, a lot of these picks, Randy Orton stays on Raw. I mean, a lot of these picks, Retribution stays on Raw. You pretty much expected it to happen. But like I said, I will say that there were some slight changes. There were some things they did a little bit different this year, just a little bit. Like I said last Friday, they did a little bit of things different this year compared to the draft that they did last year, where pretty much everyone who got drafted were just people that were already on the same show. But this year they did a little bit different. Obviously, for the most part, they just did this so they can keep feuds going on a different brand. But there were some drafts that they legitimately did to end feuds. Because, like I said, Matt Riddle and King Corbin, done. Apollo Crews and Hurt Business, done. Um, Even though AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy on the same brand, their feud is pretty much done. And their stuff with Sami Zayn is done too, since he stayed on SmackDown. So, there are certain feuds that they did pretty much put to an end. I mean, we did see Angel Garza actually have a match with Andrade, which Andrade won. It wasn't really that long of a match, but I thought it was pretty good for what it was. That's what I said in a match quality standpoint. Most of the matches were pretty much on point. And then, it was funny when Natalya walked out on Lana after they lost their match to Mandy Rhodes and Daniel Brooke, because you heard Tom Phillips say, I'm sensing a pattern of tag teams, of dissensions of tag teams. You think, you see how many tag teams they've been breaking up as of late? Oh, I think not. Natalia leaving Lana is just one of a million teams they keep breaking up. And this is a team that wasn't even together that long. But this is just, it's a trend. They broke up Heavy Machinery. We didn't even see Tucker at all tonight. They broke up half of the New Day since Big E stayed on SmackDown. So most of the stuff is not really that surprising if you've been watching wrestling as long as I have at this point. But or WWE for that matter. But like I said, most of the stuff was pretty much expected, but I will say there were quite a few feuds that you gotta admit that they did put to an end. Like I said, there's certain things we're gonna be seeing still. They kept Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, even though we haven't seen him in a while either. But I think the reason is because, quarantine, and also he recently had another child, so he's been taking care of her, taking care of the baby. It was wife Bree, so that's one of the reasons why we haven't really seen him that much. But definitely. Like I said, match quality standpoint, we've seen a brawl with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre twice. Shockingly, Lana wins the Battle Royal to face Asuka next week for Raw Women's title on the Raw season premiere next week, which I say shockingly because they literally had her go through a table by Nia Jax like the fourth time. It's pretty obvious what they've been doing with, Lana, but pretty much it seems like what they've been doing since her husband ended up going to AEW. Pretty much seems pretty obvious what they've been doing with her. But I was pretty surprised that even after they put it to her table, even after they had her lose and get pinned again constantly, how she's been getting pinned in matches and tag matches, and Natalya pretty much left and walked out on her after the match. They actually had her win the Battle Royal to end off the show, but then they kind of did her dirty after that because they flashed the camera right back to Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton feuding with each other, just brawling, because they had a brawl early in the night when Drew McIntyre brawled with Randy Orton. Then they flashed the camera to them brawling in the middle of the Battle Royal of the women's match. I mean, goodness, did you really need to do that? And then they did it again after Lana won. They showed the camera on her for like a swift second, then they flipped it right back to Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton brawling out with each other. This kind of reminds me of when Asuka, I think when she won, when her and Kairi Sane retained their women's titles at TLC, I think it was last year, and they pretty much kind of did them dirty because they had the camera on them for like a brief moment, then they flipped the camera and the guys just brawling out with each other. This is kind of how that felt here. They, man, it's crazy. They she won the match. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I don't really see her winning against Asuka next week. But it's nice to see her get a number one contender spot. And then also, I do want to point out after that Andrade and Angel Garza match, they had this really cool moment where, we finally got to see the full transformation of Alexa Bliss. Also, you kind of already figured they were going to draft Alexa and Braun and Bray Wyatt to Raw. They had already pretty much spoiled that. One of the wrestling links pretty much spoiled that was going to happen. There are some people I heard that got drafted that they didn't really announce, like Short and G stayed on SmackDown. Certain Lucha House Party, they kept Kalisto on SmackDown, but they didn't say Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik, so maybe they're going to Raw. I don't really know about that draft. I know the draft is going to continue on the Raw Talk, but I don't have the app for that, so it is what it is. But basically they had this thing with Alexa Bliss and the Fiend. We finally got to see Alexa fully transformed. She actually came out with the Fiend, and they both attacked Selena Vega and Andrade with Sister Abigail. So we fully seen the transformation. I mean, we've already seen it, but now we really see it. Where she's just fully controlled by the Fiend, and she's really going with him. So this was really, and that was a really cool moment. Basically the highlights for me, definitely that moment there, the Noses qualification match with Kevin Owens and Aleister Black, the triple threat match between AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and Jeff Hardy in which Elias made his return and clocked Jeff Hardy with his guitar. And, so quite a few moments for me in a match quality standpoint. Lana, after getting put through the table about 4 times by Nia Jax, wins the Battle Royal. We thought that it was going to be Natalya after she eliminated Lacey Evans, but, Lana was never eliminated, so she won the match, uh, which is an interesting choice. Um, Miz TV, you had that whole thing with the brawl that went out between them. It kind of started the tag match and Marcelo attacked them. But, definitely my highlights are the no disqualification match, the triple threat match, the cool moment with Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. Um, the moment where Ricochet actually outsmarted the Hurt Business, and Lana winning the Battle Royal, the brawl between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. Those are definitely my moments for the night. I don't even. I did. That's what I said. I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to begin, but man, it was a show. It was a show. I didn't know. I didn't even know if I was going to do this, but there was quite a few things I just had to bring out there that just had to be talked about. And yeah, wow, what a night! What a night! What a night! Oh, that is it for me. All for Red Master Flex, and all right.